Come and fly away with me. 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 Come and fly away.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, or whatever it might be for all of you lovely people. Welcome back to episode 2 of Nerfoween. In a poll that was done, you all decided you wanted me to cover true crime, and I have a big one for you. Today, we are diving deep into one of pre-constitutional America's most infamous episodes of a barbaric judicial system, the Salem Witch Trials. This is a subject that is actually near and dear to my heart, and one that I champion and speak about a lot in my private life. Between February of 1692 and May of 1693, over 200 people were accused of witchcraft in colonial Massachusetts. Let's unravel how these events unfolded and the critical flaws in the courts that led to this tragedy. But to do this, I feel we need to go back before Salem, before North America, and look at the true core of the fear of witchcraft. The fear of witchcraft dates back to ancient civilizations. In ancient Rome, witchcraft was considered a serious crime, punishable by death. The Lex Cornell law, enacted around 81 BCE, targeted practitioners of harmful magic, reflecting society's deep-seated fears. In medieval Europe, these fears intensified. The Catholic Church condemned witchcraft as heresy, linking it to devil worship. This led to the infamous witch hunts of the 15th to 17th centuries. The publication Malleus Maleficarum in 1487 fueled the hysteria, providing a guide for identifying, prosecuting, and executing witches. The witch hunts reached their peak during the late 16th and early 17th centuries. Thousands were accused, tortured, and executed across Europe. The fear of witches became as widespread panic, leading to some of the darkest chapters in European history. In England, the Witchcraft Act of 1542 made witchcraft a capital offense. This was the first of its kind, marking the beginning of a harsh legal stance against alleged witches. Under this act, those found guilty of witchcraft faced execution by hanging. The law was a part of a broader European trend where rulers sought to control the populace through fear of the supernatural. The Witchcraft Act of 1542, enacted during the reign of Henry VIII, aimed to address the widespread belief in and fear of witches. It declared that conjuring spirits, casting spells, and making potions were criminal acts, punishable by death. The law was enforced with brutal inefficiency, leading to numerous trials and executions. The Witchcraft Act of 1542 was then repealed in 1547, but the fear of witches persisted. In 1563, under Queen Elizabeth I, a new Witchcraft Act was passed. This act differentiated between lesser witchcraft, which led to imprisonment, and greater witchcraft, which resulted in death if it caused harm. The law reflected the era's ongoing paranoia and desire to root out witchcraft from society. In 1604, King James I, a known witchcraft skeptic, enacted an even stricter Witchcraft Act. Influenced by his personal experiences and beliefs, King James expanded the definition of witchcraft and increased the penalties. This law made it a capital offense to invoke evil spirits or communicate with them. It led to an increase of witch trials and executions during his reign. Across Europe, the witch hunts were characterized by widespread torture and brutal executions. Methods such as pressing, burning, and drowning were commonly used to extract confessions from the accused. These confessions, often obtained under extreme duress, were used as evidence in trials, leading to more accusations and a vicious cycle of persecution. Countries like Germany, France, and Scotland saw some of the most intense witch hunts. In Germany, the Wurzburg and Bamberg witch trials resulted in hundreds of executions. In Scotland, the North Berwick witch trials were infamous in their brutality. The panic spread rapidly, fueled by superstition, fear, and the influence of powerful religious and political figures. The witch hunts reached their peak during the late 16th and early 17th centuries. Thousands were accused, tortured, and executed across Europe. England's Witchcraft Act of 1542 made witchcraft a capital offense, a law that would evolve but remain in place for over a century. This century-old law brings us to Salem. The Salem Witch Trials were primarily held in Salem Village, now Danvers, and Salem Town. Beyond these areas, arrests were made in towns like Andover and Topsfield. The Court of Orr and Tyrminer in 1692 and the Superior Court of Judicature in 1693 oversaw these trials. This was the deadliest witch hunt in colonial North America, with 19 people executed and many others suffering in jails. The trials are a vivid example of mass hysteria fueled by religious extremism and judicial misconduct. Notably, religious leaders like Cotton Mather played a significant role in perpetrating the fear of witchcraft, which heavily influenced the court's actions. The reliance on spectral evidence, testimony based on visions and dreams, was one of the most controversial aspects of these trials. The hysteria began with accusations by a group of young girls in Salem Village, including Betty Paris and Abigail Williams. Their claims of being afflicted by witchcraft triggered a cascade of accusations. The courts failed to scrutinize these claims, leading to widespread panic and injustice. Accused individuals were often subjected to intense pressure and torture, leading to false confessions. One of the most notorious cases was that of Giles Corey, who was pressed to death for refusing to enter a plea. This barbaric method highlights the court's disregard for justice and its disregard for human rights. The initial accusers were young girls from Salem Village, including Betty Paris, Abigail Williams, Anne Putnam Jr., and Elizabeth Hubbard. These girls exhibited strange behaviors, screaming, contorting their bodies, and claiming to be pinched and pricked by invisible forces. Their testimonies, despite being dubious, were taken seriously by the authorities and fueled the hysteria. Local magistrates John Hathorne and Jonathan Corwin led the initial examinations of the accused. These sessions were marked by aggressive questioning and leading tactics designed to extract confessions. Hathorne and Corwin were instrumental in validating the girls' claims and escalating the witch hunt. The Court of Orr in Tyrminer, led by Chief Magistrate William Stoughton, conducted these trials with a severe lack of due process. They heavily relied on spectral evidence, which Cotton Mather himself cautioned against. Despite this, the court proceeded, leading to devastating consequences. Increased Mather, alongside other ministers, urged the court not to convict based solely on spectral evidence. His warnings were largely ignored, perpetuating the unjust trials. The trials only ceased when Governor William Phelps, influenced by the voices of reason, intervened. The court's willingness to accept spectral evidence, along with confessions obtained under duress, led to numerous wrongful convictions. Many of those accused were women, reflecting the gender bias at the time. Women were seen as more susceptible to sin and the devil's influence, making them easy targets. Let's delve into some of the stories of the accused because they deserve to be heard. Sarah Good was a destitute woman who often begged for food and shelter. Her harsh treatment of neighbors' children and her rough demeanor made her an easy target. She was one of the first to be accused and was executed by hanging on July 19th of 1692. Sarah Good's 4-year-old daughter, Dorothy Good, was also accused. Dorothy's coerced confession implicated her mother, highlighting the cruel treatment even children faced during the trials. Dorothy spent months in prison, but was eventually released. Sarah Osborne was another early victim. She was accused because she rarely attended church due to illness and was embroiled in a property dispute with the powerful Putnam family. Her lack of conformity to the Puritan lifestyle made her an easy scapegoat. She died in jail in May of 1692 before she could be tried. Tituba, an enslaved South American woman from Barbados, was accused by the Paris girls. Her ethnic background and different cultural practices made her an obvious target. Under pressure, Tituba confessed to witchcraft, telling elaborate stories of the Devil's Book and other witches. Her confession fueled the hysteria, but she was later released and disappeared from records, though it is interesting to note that she did survive, and she was also a slave to one of the most influential men in the church. Martha Corey, a respected church member, expressed skepticism about the trials and subsequently was accused. Her case demonstrated that no one was safe from suspicion. Rebecca Nurse, a 71-year-old grandmother, was also accused despite her piety and standing in the community. Her conviction and execution on July 19th, 1692 deeply troubled many and sparked doubts about the legitimacy of the trials. Reverend George Burroughs, a former Salem minister, was accused and executed on August 19th, 1692, despite reciting the Lord's Prayer perfectly at his execution, a feat believed impossible for witches. He was hanged. His execution left many in the crowd questioning the righteousness of the trials. But what happened to those who oversaw these trials? William Stratton, who served as chief magistrate, never expressed remorse for his role in the executions. He continued to serve in various governmental roles, but his reputation was tarnished by his involvement in the trials. Judge Samuel Sewall, on the other hand, publicly confessed his guilt and sought forgiveness. In 1697, he stood before his congregation in Boston and read a statement of repentance, acknowledging his role in the tragic events. He dedicated the rest of his life to advocating for justice and charity. Governor William Phelps, who established the Court of Ore and Terminer, dissolved it in October of 1692 under increasing pressure and concern over the proceedings. Although he initially supported the trials, he later regretted his involvement and worked to end the hysteria. Increase Mather, despite his initial support for the trials, played a very crucial role in ending them. His publication, Cases of Conscience Concerning Evil Spirits, argued against the use of spectral evidence, influencing the courts to change their practices. I wish that there was a big ending here, where I can tell you that justice was served, that these men and women who falsely accused these innocent people were brought to justice and held responsible. But sadly, this is not a fairy tale book. This is not a world in which justice comes easily for those that suffered. In reality, none were held truly responsible for the crimes that they had committed against their friends, neighbors, and congregation. How they slept at night, I don't think we'll ever know. What we do know is karma. And while those that lost their lives over false allegations may one day rest in peace, those that put them there may not. There are many efforts in order to memorialize what happened in Salem in those 13 months of mass hysteria. And first, we go to a site located in the heart of downtown Salem. This solemn site, dedicated in 1992 on the 300th anniversary of the trials, features 20 granite benches, each inscribed with the name of an innocent person who was executed. The memorial invites us to reflect and remember the lessons of the past, ensuring that such injustices are never repeated. The stone wall surrounding the benches is adorned with poignant quotes from the accused, declaring their innocence. These inscriptions capture the desperation and injustice faced by the victims, reminding us of the profound human cost of fear and mass hysteria. Next, we visit Proctor's Ledge Memorial, dedicated in 2017. This site marks the actual location where 19 innocent people were hanged. For many years, the exact location of the executions remained a mystery, but in 2016, researchers confirmed Proctor's Ledge as the site. The memorial features a simple, dignified plaque honoring those who lost their lives here, inviting us to honor their memory. memory. In nearby Danvers, formerly known as Salem Village, we find the Danvers Witch Memorial. This garden memorial, dedicated in 1992, includes a granite wall inscribed with the names of the victims. Danvers played a central role in the witch trials, and this tranquil site offers a space for contemplation and remembrance, honoring those who suffered unjustly. One of the most significant historical sites related to the witch trials is Rebecca Nurse Homestead. Rebecca Nurse, a respected member of the community, was wrongly accused and executed in 1692. Her family home has been preserved as a museum, offering guided tours that provide insight into her life and the tragic events of the trials. The property includes a family cemetery with a memorial stone that honors Rebecca Nurse. Another important site is the John Proctor home. John Proctor was a vocal critic of the trials and one of the accused who was executed. The home, now privately owned, is marked with historical plaques serving as a reminder of Proctor's courage in standing against the mass hysteria that engulfed Salem. The Old Bearing Point Cemetery in Salem is one of the oldest cemeteries in the United States and the final resting place for several key figures in the witch trials, including Judge John Hawthorne. The memorial here honors those who were unjustly persecuted, inviting us to reflect on the importance of fairness and justice. Salem's memorials to the witch trials victims serve as a powerful reminder of the dangers of intolerance and the critical need for justice. These sites not only honor those who suffered, but also educate future generations about the importance of protecting individual rights and standing against fear and prejudice. The Salem Witch Trials stand as a cautionary tale about the critical importance of due process and the protection of individual rights. It reminds us that justice must be grounded in reason and evidence, not fear and superstition. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of one of America's most tragic historical events. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Nerfoween, and don't forget to take your meds. Until next time, stay informed and question everything.